In an increasingly changing world, heavily influenced by anthropogenic impact that amplify climate change and habitat destruction, we must develop innovative approaches. To counteract deforestation and preserve what remains, we need to think about nature-based solutions. But what exactly are nature-based solutions, and can they help mitigate the effect of climate change? Professor Ali Caixeta Oliveira from the State University of Londrina in Brazil addresses these questions and shares exciting examples of nature-based solutions.
So nature-based solutions is a definition from the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, the IUCN. And I will read this definition, that's a very classical definition, that nature-based solutions are actions to protect, to manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems which address societal challenges effectively and adaptively, providing human being and biodiversity benefits. So, and the way societal challenges are like climate change, food security, biodiversity laws, and so water security too. So this kind of challenge. So just to explain better about that, so for example, the restoration, the forest restoration itself is a nature-based solution that you can use that nature to restore a forest to carbon, for example, for the mitigation of climate change, for example, as to carbon storage, and also to prevent the biodiversity loss. So it's an example. Like we can also use, for another example for agriculture, is the use of the natural enemies of a pest instead of using a chemical pesticide. So you can, instead of using a chemical pesticide, you can use a natural enemy of an insect that is causing damage to your crop. So I think this is the idea of these nature-based solutions. So in the case of the agriculture, we are trying to address to have a positive impact in food security. In the case of reforestation, you can have a positive impact on the climate change mitigation and also to prevent biodiversity loss. So just some examples. We have a project that is in collaboration here with Brazil, also France, and also with Germany, which are specifically focused on the development of different nature-based solutions for forest restoration efforts. So we try different kinds. One example that I'd like to show you is the use of associative microorganisms, because you know that in a forest, plants associate with beneficial microorganisms, and these microorganisms may provide nutrients, can provide molecules that protect plants from some abiotic stresses. So they provide many benefits to the plants. And our idea is to go to the natural forests and try to prospect these microorganisms that are in association with the trees, the tree roots, and to cultivate them. So just an example here, so we can isolate them and cultivate them in an in vitro medium, and also to characterize them to be sure that it's not a pathogen, that they have traits, functional traits that are related to plant growth promotion, to induce abiotic stress resistance, and then you can use these microorganisms to, when we produce a tree seedling, we could inoculate them with these microorganisms, and they can improve the growth and the drought resistance of the seedling. Just one example here, we have this species here, that's Cecropia paxtachia. It's a very important neotropical tree in restoration, a pioneer tree, fast growing. And you can see this is the non-inoculated one, that usually just the normal substrate, and the other one we inoculated with a plant growth promoting bacteria that was isolated from a forest site here near Londrina. So you can see that it increased a lot the growth, the carbon storage by this seedling. And we also have some results that show that it also increased the drought resistance of the seedlings. And another strategy that we use also is the use of plant growth regulators, because the plants produce themselves molecules to induce resistance to abiotic stresses like drought, like heat, and so on. So we can also explore these natural compounds, the signaling molecules, plant growth regulators that the plants produce, and apply them in the seedling production to improve their growth, their abiotic stress resistance, and also their survival in the field. Material science can be very helpful for the delivery of these microorganisms or these molecules. So, for example, we have an example here of a kind of material. So, this is a FOAN, a biodegradable FOAN that's made from agro-industry residues like sugar, bagasse, orange peels, and so on. And we can grow some microorganisms here, and we can use these FOANs to deliver the microorganism. So you can inoculate this with the microorganism, and also you can put some molecules here, and you can mix it with the substrate, and it can deliver. In addition to deliver the nutrients from the residue, it can also deliver your microorganism or your molecule. Okay, so and it's completely biodegradable, so you can replace a fertilizer, a conventional fertilizer, for this FOAN that is would provide some nutrients, and also the bacteria, and also the molecule that can induce plant resistance to stress. And you can also, another strategy that we use is the use of nanomaterials. So you know what is the nanomaterials? It's related to the size. Okay, so we have here the size range that we can see by our eyes, from millimeters, centimeters, and so on. We have here that's the micro. Micro is the size range that we can of the cells, of most cells, and nano is 1 meter divided by 1 billion. So 1 billion. So it's more or less the size of a virus, I would say. And this size range is interesting because it interacts very well with the cells. So you can use the nanomaterial to encapsulate a compound, a signaling molecule, because there are many signaling molecules that are very effective in protecting plants from stresses, but they are very sensitive to environmental factors. So if we encapsulate it as a medicine, as a drug, you can encapsulate it in a nano. It can protect the compound from the fast degradation, and it can also allow a controlled, a slow release of the molecule, and you can have a better delivery of this molecule to the plant. And you can also change the characteristic of the nanoparticle, of the nanomaterial, to improve the interaction with the cells. For example, you can use a positive charge, a negative charge. You can increase the size or decrease the size. So you can synthesize a nanomaterial that gives a better delivery of your signaling molecule and a better effect. An example that we use in our project is the nitroxide, an NO releasing nanoparticles. So we have it here. It's made from chitosan. Is a polymer, a biodegradable, biocompatible polymer that is synthesized from chitin. So chitin is found in the exoskeleton of insects, of crustaceans, and also in the cell wall of fungi. So we can use this natural material, polymer, to make a nanoparticle and to encapsulate a nitroxide donor. And we also use a natural nitroxide donor, that the same nitroxide donor that we have in our cells, all the plants, all the living cells use, that's S-nitrosoglutathione. So it releases, nano-encapsulated, it releases the nitroxide that is a gas. So it's a gas, so it's very complicated to treat a plant with a gas. So we use a nitroxide donor that releases it very slowly, and the nanoparticle helps to protect it from degradation. And we can have very nice results with nitroxide, that we could observe that it changes the roots of the leaves. So it improves the formation of roots of the plants. We have more root hairs, more lateral roots, so it improves the capacity of the plant to absorb water. And it also it induces the antioxidant response against stress, and also it helps with the stomata. So it helps, it also modulates the loss of water by the plants. So we have a more efficient water use by the plants, and it's they get more drought resistant. The next step is first to scalonate it, so make it scalable in a large scale. So this is something that are still more in laboratory, greenhouse, nursery sales, but we need now to scale it up to produce in higher volumes. And also it's very important to have this to communicate. I think it's very important to show to the society and also to the productive sector the potential of these nature-based solutions for the use in reforestation, because still, at least here in Brazil, people use a lot still herbicides, synthetic compounds, and they need, I think that we need to communicate to them the potential of these nature-based solutions to have better results for reforestation, and we need that communication will be something really important. For sure, reforestation would be crucial for that, for mitigate climate change, to store carbon not only on the plants but also in the soil. But it alone will not be it cannot be it alone, because we need to reduce also the emission of CO2, the CO2 emissions. I think it will be also very important to have more sustainable practice to decrease the CO2 emissions also, and also think about other ways of carbon storage. But for sure, reforestation would be crucial for the mitigation of climate change.